The mighty Colorado River flows from the Centennial State to the Gulf of California. The headwaters start in the high alpine reaches west of the Continental Divide. Below, the river supplies Grand Lake, Shadow Mountain Reservoir, and Lake Granby. Then snakes through Middle Park and the rapid-filled Gore Canyon, before reaching the Bureau of Land Management recreation site known as Pump House. This is a special time of the year. It's May, and the largest species of stoneflies are starting to hatch. Pteronarcis californica, also known as salmon flies, become active in the spring. When the water reaches the right temperature, somewhere between 55 and 58 degrees, the nymphs make their way to the banks, hatch into adults, and return to the water to lay their eggs. This mating ritual is responsible for the sustainability of the salmon fly. It is also capable of triggering large trout to gorge on these biggie-sized meals. This hatch is brief. It can come and go before you know it. Whether you're early, late, or right on time, there's a good chance you'll get the privilege to see these massive insects. Watching a hatch is one thing. Actually catching fish is another. On their day off, Cutthroat Anglers guides Mitch and Ryan hit the water to work on some techniques. It's a windy day, but that doesn't stop Mitch and Ryan.
So Ryan, we can fish all day here and never actually make an overhead cast like you see on TV where they're waving it back and forth over your head. We don't even need to do that. We could just make a roll cast that looks something like that. And all a roll cast is essentially the forward part of a full overhead cast. A lot of the elements are the same. I bring the rod pretty much straight up in the air, stop it, and push it forward, just like I would if it was a standard overhead cast. So Ryan, sometimes when they won't take your dead drifted dry fly, if you give it a little skating action, it'll make the fly appear more lifelike, and sometimes that will trigger a strike. There's a couple of ways you can actually skate your fly. You can skate your fly by raising your rod tip and holding tight on the line so no line comes out. The other way you could skate it is by shaking your rod tip back and forth. That's another way. And there's always actually slightly stripping it in like you would say maybe a woolly bugger or something, a streamer. Just give it a little skate. And you'll notice that each way you try to skate your fly changes how it skates.
With a couple techniques down, it's time to throw on some flies.
So Ryan, we're not having a whole lot of luck with just our dry fly, even though we're twitching it, we're just not getting any luck on it. Why don't we try doing some dry dropper stuff, maybe even dry double dropper.
All right. Should we go with the good old standard girdle bug.
I think so, the old Pat's rubber leg.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big fly. I'm gonna try to use a pretty heavy tippet for that. Let's go ahead and put on some 2X.
All right.
So what I like to do is I like to tie the fishing knot in my hand, moisten it, and then just slide it over the bend of the hook. Pull it tight. Test it. Didn't break. Yahoo. So one thing I always consider when I'm putting on a dropper is how deep and heavy the water is. We're not fishing real deep or heavy water right there. So let's go ahead and make this maybe 1.5 feet down.
All right.
If we go too far down, we're just going to be snagging on the bottom all day. We don't want to do that. Always moisten your knots. If you don't moisten your knots, you'll create too much friction and damage your tippet. So we're going to go one size smaller on this next dropper in the hopes that if we get snagged on the bottom, we might just lose the fly that has the lighter tippet on it. That's what I'm thinking there.
Then you just don't lose your whole setup.
Yeah, you don't lose all three.
Should we go with the pheasant tail, or are we gonna?
Pheasant tail is an excellent choice.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
You know, there's lots of ways to tie these flies on. The standard fishing knot, or the clinch knot, or the improved clinch knot is a fantastic knot. I use that all the time.
While the salmon flies are definitely out and about, Mitch explains why fishing 3 flies can be the ticket to success.
The reason for fishing 3 flies is twofold. One, it's legal. The second reason is the more flies you present to a fish, the better chance you have of the fish actually accepting your offering. That's the biggest reason. This time of year, it's very easy for us to get keyed into the fact that a salmon fly hatch is occurring. It's very easy to think that's the only thing the fish wants to eat. But the reality is there's lots of other food in the water. They can get keyed on something else even though they will take the salmon fly. They may decide, hey, there's a blue-wing olive hatch also occurring. Let's eat that for a while. So it really helps you to catch fish. Let's go fishing.
All right.